Grace Waters was a quiet, church-going woman in her 50s who lived a lonely, routine life after a painful divorce. When a young, charming man named Shannon entered her world, he didn't just bring attention, he brought the illusion of love, care, and a fresh start. But that illusion quickly collapsed into a web of manipulation, betrayal, financial exploitation, and ultimately, a crime that sent her to prison for murder. What seemed like a simple case at first would soon expose a far more disturbing truth hidden beneath perfect smiles and false loyalty. The story opens in a legal aid office where a young defense attorney, Jasmine Bryant, is pressured by her boss not to take on the case of Grace Waters. Grace has already been arrested and charged with the murder of her husband, Shannon, even though his body was never recovered. Despite the warning, Jasmine feels uneasy about the case and insists on meeting Grace herself, believing something about the story doesn't add up. Grace is brought in from prison to meet Jasmine, and she appears calm but emotionally drained. From the beginning, Grace insists she is guilty, almost as if she has accepted her fate already. But Jasmine senses confusion beneath her confession and pushes her to explain what really happened. Grace begins narrating her story in fragments. She explains how she met Shannon, a much younger man who showed her unexpected attention and affection at a time when she felt invisible and alone. He was charming, persistent, and quickly won her trust, making her believe she had finally found love again after years of loneliness. Their relationship escalates quickly, and Shannon convinces Grace to marry him. At first, he plays the role of a devoted husband, loving, attentive, and supportive. But soon after the marriage, subtle changes begin. Shannon starts gaining control over Grace's finances, handling her bank accounts and making decisions without her knowledge. Grace notices money disappearing, documents she never signed, and strange activity linked to her accounts. When she questions Shannon, he gaslights her, acting innocent and reassuring her that everything is fine. Meanwhile, Grace's only close friend, Sarah Miller, remains part of her life and appears supportive. As Grace's confusion deepens, tension builds in her marriage. One night, after discovering more financial irregularities and feeling emotionally cornered, Grace confronts Shannon in a heated argument. The situation escalates violently, and in a moment of rage and fear, Grace strikes Shannon with a baseball bat. Panicked and believing she has killed him, Grace hides his body in the basement area of a building tied to Shannon's business dealings. But when the police investigate, the body is nowhere to be found, leaving behind only suspicion and circumstantial evidence pointing directly at Grace. Back in the courtroom, Jasmine takes on the case and begins digging deeper despite resistance from her workplace. As she investigates, she uncovers inconsistencies in the financial records and begins to suspect that Shannon was not the man he claimed to be. During the trial, Grace is eventually convicted and sentenced to life in prison. However, on the day of sentencing, Jasmine notices something disturbing. Sarah, Grace's best friend, is wearing a necklace that belonged to Shannon, raising immediate suspicion. At the same time, Sarah had been feeding Jasmine selective information, subtly guiding her away from the truth while pretending to support Grace. As Jasmine pieces everything together, she realizes Sarah and Shannon were secretly working together all along. It is revealed that Shannon was never just a loving husband, but part of a calculated scheme with Sarah to exploit Grace financially. Sarah had been helping siphon Grace's money while Shannon manipulated and controlled her emotionally. Before the truth can fully play out in court, Sarah disappears, fleeing before she can be held accountable, leaving Grace innocent.